I've spent hundreds of dollars in annual credit card fees for the last several years. And the reason I have so many credit cards is because I want to take advantage of all the benefits that each of them allots me, right? So things like free flights, free hotels, free food, things like that. However, because I have so many credit cards, it can be difficult to keep track of all of the benefits that each credit card gives me over time. So, I had the bright idea to build an app to help me do that. But before we dive into that, how's it going? My name is Byron. I'm a software engineer based out of Chicago, and welcome to my Built in Public series, where I build applications and other things that I'm just interested in seeing put out there into the world. So, I am going to walk you through the journey of me building this app, but before we do that, let's grab some coffee first. Crazy. Yeah, so Chicago got just a little bit of snow. It's not going to stop us from heading to this coffee shop to build this app. Let's go. Apparently, I'm not the only person that decided to come out here in the middle of a snowstorm to do some work. I'm at a cafe in downtown Chicago, and it is pretty packed. So I had to do my best to get a seat in here. I'm currently kind of in like it's hard to tell, but like the table is so much higher than my waist. But we're just gonna make do. Best thing to do at the start of any application is to figure out a plan. And in my case, I know that I need to write down some of the expectations of this app, what it is that I want it to do. And after that, the first step is to get the core of the application together. So that, in my mind, looks like just building a regular Hello World app. For those of you that are new to building applications, a Hello World app is like the most basic thing you could do. You essentially just want to get an app together that prints Hello World on the screen, right? So that means that you have somewhat of a working app, doesn't do anything, but you've got the app to the point where it can run. So that'll be our first step. So let's write down some of these app expectations. I've written out a very bare bones list of requirements that we want for the app. So we know on the main screen we want to display a list of credit cards that are in your wallet and allow you to pretty much like click on a credit card and view its benefits. You'll have the benefits page and just show a bullet point list of the benefits that come with this credit card. If you receive free check bags or 3 times points, things like that, you should be able to see that from this benefits page. Something else that we'll have to think about too is how we want to add a card to your wallet as well as remove it. And there's some other features that I have in the back of my head for potential in the future, but for right now, just gonna work on building out the bare bones minimum. I didn't talk at all about the technology that I'm using on this application. To start, I've got Claude code running in the background right now. It's building out the bare bones of the application. Am I going to rely on Claude code to build out this entire application? No, for various reasons. However, it is really great at building out just like the basics of certain things, right? So something that I've really hated in the past, pre-AI, when it came to getting started on a new application is the amount of time that it took you to actually get started, right? Like getting the project set up, getting the basic dependencies installed and all those things. And that's something that I will say for sure Claude Code helps out in a great deal with. Something else to note is I want this application to be available on both Android and iOS. And to do that, I'm going to use React Native, right? So for those of you that are unaware, React Native is just a framework that allows you to build applications cross-platform. So if you want to launch an app via Android or iOS, then you have the ability to just have everything in one code base for the most part. One of the hard parts is over. We've got our super basic Hello World application that is launched in the Android emulator. At some point, of of course gonna get this launched on iOS and the emulator there, but for now this is a really great start. So let's start to figure out what this first page is going to be. The way that I'm planning to structure this application is essentially I'm going to have a backend service that is going to serve things up to the front end, and the front end being the actual Android application or iOS application. So essentially, the front end of this app is going to be making a request to my backend service. All I'm doing right now is building out a basic backend application that essentially has a health check-in point, so that we can just check to see that the application's running, as well as a hello world response too. So currently, the initial implementation that I built out with Claude for the Hello World app, it was basically just like static text that was being served at the very front end of the application, and no backend was involved whatsoever. So the change here is that we're going to now be serving the Hello World from the backend to the front end of the application. So not that complicated, but sounds more complicated than it actually is. As you can see here, I've got the backend service. It's really just a directory, and this I built out with Express. We've just got the health endpoint as well as a Hello World endpoint. So I've got this separated, but all in the same package. So backend package is here, and the API service is here. And this is the thing that's actually making the calls, so fetch hello world and things like that. So on the front end, where we've got our React Native code, everything currently is in this app.tsx file, which is doing not much right now. It's basically just like serving up the hello world message, which is essentially what we wanted to do. The next plan is to actually hook up the back end to the front end so that we are able to make and send requests and whatnot, from the application. And at that point, we're going to be off to a pretty good starting point when it comes to building out the actual features of the application. Basic table schema for this backend is I know that we'll need to essentially have a database that holds the credit card info as well as user info inside of it. Something I'm thinking about is how I want to store the actual benefits bullet points. So let's say, for example, you have a Chase card that has a list of 5 different benefits. Like, I don't know if I want to store that as a JSON be on the credit card table, or if I want to store it in like a text file and match that text file to each individual credit card for its respective cards. So gonna think about that for a bit and table that for the future. But for now, I know that something to keep in mind is we're gonna have these 2 tables, credit card and user, and potentially some more stuff. But for right now, seems like another thing is so many technologies when it comes to putting an application together, right? Even if you do have the assist of AI with Claude and all these other tools, like there's so many different options and things to consider when you're trying to weigh the pros and cons of just building out an app and the different technologies. I'm trying to figure out which ORM that I want to use when it comes to building out the database schema. And I have very little experience using Prisma. However, I'm really intrigued by the technology as I've read a bit about it. And so this seems like a pretty good time to experiment. When it comes to handling migrations and the database schema and the models and stuff like that, I'm going to use Prisma to structure things out. So making some pretty good progress when it comes to building out the architecture of the backend of this application. However, the cafe that I'm in is about to close in about 10 minutes. I'm gonna put off the rest of this app until the next video, and then in the next video I'm gonna continue to build out on the backend app part of the application, as well as hopefully start to figure out the front end and see, make things look pretty for those of you out there that are interested in seeing that. So make sure you tune into the next video. I'll catch you next time. Peace.